why God didn't intervene in the fall. So anyway, especially for some of the younger people, like her brother, Sasha's of course very sensitive to her younger brother, and Nusa, what was her name was Nusabai, who's not here today.
Yeah, Nusaiba.
Sorry? Nusaiba. She wanted, Sasha suggested I share a few things. Show windows. Okay. So I just wanted to actually go back.
So now
All of it?
Yeah, just let it go. Let that go. Okay. No, this was really just for people who need a little help with the principle of creation, just to re-emphasize the importance of the three blessings in unification theology. This is what it's all about for us. And I did ask the question, but nobody could see it. You can all see this now, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So what's the big difference between when you look at this picture, this diagram, what's the big difference in unification theology and regular Christian theology?
The second blessing.
Matt, we have Melissa now. So Melissa is vocal and she's the second blessing. So what does this do, Melissa?
What does it do?
Well, for us, what's the difference? The second blessing.
Well, I think there's, I haven't been put on the spot in a long time. Two things is, one thing is that it makes, it means that just becoming a person of perfect character as Jesus was is only the first step towards realizing God's kingdom on the earth, and it elevates women to the same equal status as men, because both are equally needed, representing as the two complementary aspects of God's nature, and that they interact, and through their interaction comes children, which enables God's kingdom to be established substantially on earth. It's not just a spiritual thing that an individual person achieves spiritual salvation, but that God's actual physical and spiritual lineage can be established on the earth through the children of, what can I say, the original man and woman, and then their descendants, and this can continue forever. So, I mean, there's a lot to that. There's a lot more than I can say in a couple words. But it means that also that just a perfected, or a, what can we say, a Jesus figure, Jesus character is not sufficient to realize God's kingdom on the earth.
Can I?
There's more, but go ahead, please.
Reverend Stewart, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Okay, I think the first blessing is the most important because the fall happened, took place before Adam and Eve became mature. So in other words, that's the way that's how the fall happened. They were supposed to become fruitful, become mature, and then they would not violate the principle. Then the second blessing, then God could bless them, right? So the second blessing comes first now because of restoration. God cannot wait till everybody become perfect. That's not possible. Only the Messiah could become perfect. They have the condition. So now the restoration is through the second blessing. Then through our descendants, supposedly, that we would become fruitful. In after 7 generations of dedicated, then all the world, the dominant of the world, would become automatically when first and second blessing happen to all mankind. I think that's my understanding.
Yeah, well, yeah. what I was going for is that marriage is the central sacrament of the unification movement. So
I see.
in Christianity, what's the sacrament? What do you do if you go to church, if you go to Catholic church, if you go to the Anglican church?
Communion. You
do communion. And what's that? Do you know this? Irene, have you ever been to church? You guys never went to church, right? You ever go to church, Queen Nam?
Wow. Wow.
Every once in a while.
Have you ever been to church? Have you been to church and have they people lined up and they give them something?
Yeah, once. And
once. What did they give them?
I don't remember. They just went in the line.
Those little wafers with the cross on them.
Oh, a little wafer, and they put something on there. They did something on their head.
Hold your hand.
I mean, you guys.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? What's it called, Alan?
Something like a communion wafer.
Is it manna?
No, that manna and quail. That's Moses in the desert.
I swear it was just called like the bread of Christ or something.
Eucharist.
Shauna, you been with mom and dad?
I go to a Catholic school.
You go. So what'd you get?
A communion.
And what'd you get in the communion? You get a wafer, right, which is bread. And what else you get? Do they give? Maybe they don't give it to the children, right? Too young.
They give the teachers wine.
They give some juice. They give some wine. What does this represent? What does this represent?
Jesus' blood and body.
Jesus is the juice is his blood. The wine is his blood. And what's the other one?
The communion is
the body.
His body. So what are you doing?
Eating Jesus' body.
They're cannibals. Right?
Yeah.
They're eating they're eating him.
Yep.
He said this, do this in remembrance of me, right?
Yeah.
In the Bible. So this is individual. So what's the central sacrament in the unification movement? What's our equivalent that Irene and Queen Nam and Shauna won't have to drink, even though they've probably drunk it several times already because we seem to like doing it? What's it called?
Holy wine.
Holy wine, right? Who said that? Daniel, was that you?
I said that.
All righty. So when did your parents take the holy wine? Shauna, do you know? Irene, do you know when your mom and dad took the holy wine the first time? Queen Nam?
When they got the
Daniel, but you know the order?
Yes. The wife drinks first half, and then the husband drinks.
But did they drink this before they were in the blessing ceremony or afterwards?
I know for sure. I mean, I'm thinking afterwards at the start, but I do think we've given the holy wine to a lot of people without them giving them the blessing. So I'm actually not sure about that. So,
Melissa, do you remember?
Before.
Right?
We changed the blood lineage through the holy wine first, and then we received the blessing.
Okay.
What other sacraments do we have in the Unification Church? Where the sacrament is like a very holy ceremony.
The 40-day and 3-day.
Yeah, and it's all to do with marriage. So in other words, our central sacrament is marriage. Whereas in Christianity, the central sacrament is about individual salvation.
Right.
So this is a huge difference, and this is why we want to talk to Christian ministers and persuade them to receive the blessing, and then that they give this to their church, because as it were, it's taking salvational restoration from family, from the individual level to the family level.
Yeah. Thanks for making that point. That's so good too.
Okay. So that's why I wanted to show this particular diagram, because this is what it's all about. I mean, if your parents driven you nuts talking about the blessing, Daniel?
No, but no.
Alan, I mean, is mom, in the background always, matching, blessing from when you were young, no girlfriends?
Oh, you already know how parents in our church are. They want grandkids, always the 3 generations. They want the 3rd generation stat. You already know.
Yeah.
Shauna, does your mom drive you nuts? No? Good. I know Sasha's parents, they're very liberal ex-Soviets. So they're not persecuting her all the time. But she got the message. Right? And by the way, just to let you know, all you 2nd gen, get that. You don't think about matching, okay? You're going to meet somebody or be introduced to somebody. It's a whole different ball game than what happened to your folks.
Yeah.
So it's really the wrong word, and it has so much baggage. Su Ching, did you got matched? Su Ching, you were matched?
Yes, I'm actually best in 1992. 30,000
That's right.
couple.
So was it done by photos, or were you probably 2 photos, right?
Matching by photo, but I was in Korea. Right.
And where was your husband?
He is Canadian.
Yeah. So in other words, Father got a couple of photos and put them together, And that was that. And now, welcome to Canada. It's not like that at all for you guys. So don't think that for a moment. It's a whole different process. Your level of responsibility is way more. You really have to work it out and decide. All right. So, okay. So that's the first diagram I wanted to look at. Go on to the next one, Sasha. And the second one is, how do we grow spiritually? And this was especially for the people who are not here today.
Oh.
Mr. Mirik and Nusaiba. Anyway, this to me is always the other. Does it not go on from there? Oh, here we go. Keep going. I mean, I hope it says, there we go. There you got this is the whole thing. So this is to me, the other most important diagram in the principle of creation.
Wow.
So have you seen this, Irene, in workshops?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. I'm looking at it and wondering, I always put the spirit body on the right and the physical body on the left, but this is different. So here we have the spiritual self. So, and this is important before you study the fall. What happened in the fall? How did it change this diagram? What was the result of the fall? So it said that God put a flaming sword between man and the tree of life, right? And man was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So what changes in the fall? Can anyone tell me? Queenam?
Yes, if I may.
Let Queenam, let's see if he's got it.
Truth?
What happened? What do you mean about truth? Tell us more.
Oh, I was cut off from truth was cut off from man in the sense of
We're cut off from God's truth. What else?
Love.
Love. We're cut off from God's love. Was that what you were going to say, John?
Well, yes. We die spiritually. So that's the same. We became unprincipled.
Yeah.
That's the same as we die spiritually and cut off from God's love. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and we have all this fear and ignorance because of the fall.
Yeah. So actually, so what replaced God's love and God's truth was fear and shame. Right?
Yes.
Actually, according to the Bible. So that's very important. So of course it means your spiritual self can't grow properly because we're not in touch. Therefore, see, the worst thing you can deprive a baby of is love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I do believe that the Germans did experiments like this on twins, Jewish twins.
Oh.
Whereby one twin would be given a lot of love and the other would just be left alone and just basically given milk to survive and cleaned up every now and again when they were babies, to see the result it would have on them, the Nazis during the war. So this is why people's spirit bodies are so distorted, don't grow up properly. Because imagine you didn't receive light and warmth. How would you be? Right? So I have a friend who's now passed away, sadly, very young, and he was walking along and he came across this creature, this, body on the pavement. And the body was all distorted and kind of curled up. And like the facial features were all distorted, his bones coming out and, like in a movie, right?
Ooh.
And he looked down and he thought, I know who this is somebody I know. This is somebody I know. And when he looked more carefully, he realized it was himself.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
So he was seeing his spirit self.
Wow.
How he looked spiritually. So it was him, but he was all distorted. And one of the first members who joined in Japan was actually a Korean lady. Her spiritual sense of smell opened up after she joined, and she couldn't leave the house because people stank. Because instead of emitting a beautiful smell because of sin, they were emitting the smell of sin, in other words, really. So she said when she went out just to buy a few things, she had walked with her back against the wall, again, kind of like in a movie, just trying to avoid people and quickly go what she wanted. She prayed desperately for almost a week for God to close off her spiritual sense of smell. So this is the distortion. So why did Father ask us, please do Hoondok for 1 hour every day? What did he want to do for us? Go ahead, tell us, Alan. You want to tell us? Why did? I'll be. What did he want to do? Why did Father ask us to study and do Hoondok? What did he want us to do? Why did he say to do that?
Oh, yeah.
To bring us to be more connected to himself, to be a variety of reasons to bring us to be more connected to God.
Based on this picture. Hi, Celine.
Hey, how are you?
We're just going over a couple of important. We just looked at the 3 blessings, and this is, spiritual growth and physical growth, right? The 2 most important diagrams in the principle of creation. Okay, sorry, Alan, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. Well, essentially, they would be there would be life elements from God, and that if we align ourselves with His Word, we would be in turn aligning ourselves with Him.
Yeah. It's to feed you. It's to feed you, right?
Through that, we would receive the truth.
Yeah, I mean, He wants to feed you.
It's the simple answer.
Yeah. Father, actually, one time somebody asked, Father, why do you speak so long? And he said, because I can see people's spirits growing.
Mm.
And if I stop it, they stop. And they start to go the other direction. They start to shrink.
Mm.
Interesting.
You know?
Wow.
That was, and man, he spoke a long time.
Yeah.
Remember the first speech I went to hear Father was early October 1980, and he spoke for 7 or 8 hours. And then we went back a couple of days later, and he spoke for 14 hours.
Yeah.
Lucky we weren't old men and bad prostates would have had a heck of a time. I don't know how those old Koreans did it, listening to him. Father also. Anyway. So
having to pee was a problem.
Yeah.
It really was.
So especially, you know, it's difficult. So that's why we, you know, when you have your own children, we want to really love our children with God's love, and we want to educate them with the truth, because that's the only way their spirits can grow properly. And we're, of course, sadly distorted because we never received God's, you know, love and truth. But anyway, the extremely important diagram. And of course, this vitality element's also very important. Live for the sake of others, as Father said. He was always repeating that, because that way you would feed vitality elements to your spirit self. Did you ever try it, Sasha?
Right.
Did anyone try it? Try this to see if it works? Can somebody give me a practical example of how you can use this? If you're really bummed out and negative, you ever get really bummed out and negative, really upset, nothing's going right, exams didn't go well, or there's trouble in the house, your mom and dad driving you crazy, you're angry, upset, maybe Sasha never, I don't know. Jeremy, you're a saint, we can't see you. Or Shauna. Celine, you can see she's a saint, you know. What'd you do? Never happens. Irene? I never saw Irene angry.
You can go for a walk.
No, what'd you do?
What do I do about what?
No, what should you do if you like that?
I guess listen, like see from their perspective.
No. Anybody?
Calm down.
LFSO.
You should wash the dishes or clean the house.
For the sake of others.
Live for the sake of others. You should do something for other people. So especially if there's dishes or dirty kitchen, clean the kitchen, do the dishes, do the laundry for your brothers who've just annoyed the heck out of you.
Make them cookies.
And see if it changes your state of being. I do a lot of dishes, a lot of laundry. Okay, that's that. So these two very, very important diagrams. Also dealing with the spirit world, so that's also very important. Okay. So just before we go on to the fall, did anyone actually read the Bible?
Yes.
The story in the Bible.
Which one?
About the fall.
Sure.
Yeah.
Has everyone read it? Quino, did you read it?
Ago.
Shauna, you've read it? Jeremy?
Nope.
No?
Couple of months ago I did.
All righty.
Not recently, but a
well,
couple months ago.
I just put it in the chat, okay? And this is very useful. If you want to read the Bible, BibleGateway.com is very useful, okay? Sasha, can you put that up? Can you share that?
The Bible link?
That Bible link.
I can't open the chat.
You can't open the chat?
Yeah, because I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
You want me to share my screen with the Bible?
Yeah, we could quickly read it and unpack it a little bit.
Okay.
Well, nice eyes you've got, Sasha. You're all big there now.
I think I'm gonna go back to being small.
All righty. There you go. So for those of you who didn't read this, who wants to read? Jeremy, you never read it. Go ahead, read it. Then if you unite your mind and body, you'll get a bit more.
How long should I read?
Just go to the end. Let's go.
Bible Gateway. I'll just press on the link and read, I guess.
Well, you should have it. It's Sasha sharing it right now.
Yeah, I see it. I'll just go to the end of the page. The fall. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden. But God did say, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." "You certainly will not die," the serpent said to the woman, "for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the trees, and I ate it." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." So the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust for all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." To the woman he said, "I will make your pains in childbearing very severe, and with painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To Adam he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you, though through painful toil you will eat food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground. Since from it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return." Adam and his wife Eve named his wife Eve because she would become the mother of all living. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. And the Lord God said, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat, and live forever." So the Lord God banished him from the garden of Eden to work the ground from which he had been taken. After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life.
Okay. Thanks, Sasha. Let's get rid of that. Thanks. So it's good to read the Bible. Our many unificationists, they only know the Bible from the Bible quotations they hear in lectures and what they read in the principle. But so there's a lot there, right? And we didn't read the previous chapter, chapter 2, that talked about the two trees being in the center of the garden, right? So, but you all read about that when you were reading the fall of man this week, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So anyone have any difficulties with that? Sash, do you want to go back and share my other thing? Go to the next one. All righty. Keep going. There should be another tree should appear. There we go. All righty. So,
sorry.
No, you went too far. There we go. Perfect. So, of course, the principle talks about the trees being representative of Adam. So the tree of life being a perfect Adam, and the tree of the knowledge of evil being Eve after her perfection. So there's a lot of other stuff in the Bible you can see there about people being trees. So anyway, you get that. And there are various quotations about the tree of life, and these are some other ones that aren't in the Bible. The fruit of the righteous, or the fruit of righteousness, is a tree of life. I like the soothing tongue is a tree of life. That's a good one.
Interesting.
And an important one in the book of Revelation, which is the last book of the Bible. This is something received, as it were, by St. John in a trance. And he says to the one who is victorious, or other translations, to the one who overcomes. It says various things. I will give a new name. I will give the morning star. He will have the right to sit by God and myself on my throne, on God's throne. And he also says to the one who is victorious, or to the one who overcomes, I will give the right to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. So as we know, the tree of life was supposed to be in the Garden of Eden. And Eden, you have to understand, just means joy. A translation of Eden is the garden of joy, because of course the purpose of life is joy. So the tree of life appears a lot. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil only in that one time. But there is one other reference to good and evil. And this is when David had just survived the rebellion of his son Absalom. And he was getting away from Absalom. And he was helped by an old retainer of the family of his father and himself, who's called Barzillai. And he asked Barzillai, please come back with me to Jerusalem. I'm going to take care of you. And Barzillai said, I am this day 80 years old. How old's that? No older person can answer. Young people, who knows what that means? How old was he? Come on.
Is it 40?
Come on, keep going. He
Not
said,
40.
Look what he says. I am 80 years old. Can I discern between good and evil? Can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? How old was he, Celine?
Maybe 16.
80. What's a score? Come on, Shona. Irene. You got to read Shakespeare. Shakespeare.
Oh, that old guy.
Oh, no, Lincoln.
Beth.
Lincoln too. Lincoln, right?
77 years ago.
The Battle of the Gettysburg Address. He's 80. A score is 20.
20.
Old English for 20. So he's 80 years old. Now, but he's just been helping David. So there's nothing wrong with his mind, right? I mean, my aunt's going to be 105. At 100, there was nothing wrong with her mind. If there was something wrong with his mind and he couldn't discern between good and evil, why would he have helped his king? How could he have helped his king? But look what he says next. He says, can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? In other words, his taste buds are not so good. Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? So he doesn't hear well. So can I discern between good and evil is a reference to, so he can't perform sexually anymore. He's old, he's impotent. He's not having sex. He's finished. Right? Just because 80 was a bit older then than now. He's not in good shape like John Chow, you see. Looks like a young man. But we're not going to talk to Uncle John and Auntie Jackie about their sex lives on this particular thing. Otherwise, they'll start laughing like teenagers. All righty. So that's the only other reference in the Bible, okay? That's 2 Samuel 1 at the top. All righty. So does anyone have any difficulty about all this symbolism and the fruit being Eve's sexual love? This all makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
How about you younger ones? I mean, you've heard this and you hear it and you probably, goes in one eye and out the other, does it? Or how does it work? When you go to workshops in the summer, you're just waiting for the break so you can run around? Or you actually listen and get into it? Are you interested? You have to be. I mean, you're here because you're interested in the truth. Bless you. All the others who are not here, they're not. So this is really critical stuff. This and Father's understanding is radical. Father's not the only person who understood the fall this way. Other people have understood that the fall was a sexual fall. But only Father and one lady her name was Sung Do Kim. And she was the grandmother of a 36 couple, one of the oldest couples in our church, one of the oldest couples. And she founded the Holy Lord Church that Mother's mother was a member of. And she understood the fall, that this was a sexual, spiritual relationship between Lucifer, the archangel, and Eve. Right? So this is weird stuff. Right? This is strange stuff. We won't have a show of hands of who's had a sexual experience in their dream, but pretty common. So this is a similar sort of thing, and we have to understand about the angels, right? So do you get it about the angels? Why don't you go on to the next one, Sasha? I'm not sure what it is, but it's a serpent, right? Okay. Just keep going. That's over. All right. Stop there. Right. So this is the nature of the angels. So the famous Catholic theologian, St. Thomas Aquinas, he defined an angel as pure spirit. The Bible does the same, no physical body. What's our problem with the angels? What's your problem with the angels, Daniel?
Problem with the angels.
What's your own problem with angels?
Own problem. Well,
do you know many?
Not to name on first name basis. No.
You know them on a second name basis?
Nah, they haven't given me too many of the second names.
No, I mean, did anyone meet an angel? I mean, of course, you know, the grandparents called Irene and Sasha angels, and Celine and Su Cheng, you know, oh, you're a little angel. And we see them we see them every time there's a rally of hope. And it always says on the screen, little angles. You never change it. I don't know. So actually, they invaded England in the 6th century with the Saxons, little angles. Right. So this is part of our problem with the angels is we have no experience with the angels. Right. So it's difficult to get our mind around it and understand the relationship between the angels and Adam and Eve. But did anyone have a spiritual experience? I can't see everybody here, but did anyone have a spiritual experience in their life?
Yeah,
where you met
many.
John Chow have many.
Some that could potentially be described as that, yes.
Yeah. What happened? Just quickly.
Without going into too much detail, essentially just a very overwhelming feeling of just love and acceptance welling up from within. That's essentially it.
Right. So you didn't see anybody?
No.
No, it was an internal thing. Anybody
Yes,
else? Go ahead, Alan.
I was just going to mention that it being a spiritual experience is only one potential explanation for that. But well.
Yeah. Did anyone have a spiritual experience where they met a spirit, maybe a dead relative? John, did you meet people?
Well, I have had quite a few spiritual experiences. They vary a lot, in a lot of variations. You know, for example, I've heard spiritual being talking to me. At one point, I saw True Father spiritually when I was sitting right in front of him at Belvedere. At one time, I saw True Father's spirit, that his eyes were flames coming out of his eyes like a dragon when he was talking, you know. And Colonel Park was standing very much next to him and doing translation. But suddenly, I was sitting about 10 feet away, Belvedere, at the Sunday morning, and True was talking. And suddenly, I realized I saw him spiritually, not just his physical body, but also his spiritual body. And that it was like a statue, like a bronze statue, flames coming out his eyes, you know, was so powerful. So I had that experience. And I also saw spiritual being. My spiritual eyes were open for about 10 seconds one day in Boston's Potential shopping mall in Boston area in the daytime. And I saw spirits, they just walking through the window of the shops I was walking with my cousins. And so my spiritual eye were open for about 10 to 15 seconds. They looked kind of stupious. They were not very lively. And I was very not lively myself at the time. And so anyway, yeah, but many other, but I can't share everything.
Yeah. Or a dream. A dream is very similar when you because the point I wanted to make is that it's overwhelmingly real.
Yes.
It's just as real or more real than life. Like your experience, Alan, it was 100% real to you, right? In the moment. Yeah. I had the experience of meeting Jesus. Also, I couldn't see his face because just so much light was coming out of it. But I knew immediately this was Jesus. And
was it a dream? I haven't understood.
No, it wasn't a dream. It was a spiritual experience.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, just quickly. Anyway, so that's one of our problems. So, but anyway, you read these points in the principle. Go on to the next one, Sash. Let's see what we got. So these are experiences in the Bible of angels, and seems to me they're different types of experience. So, and often the Bible translations where the King James used an angel, then later translation used man, because people are so unclear about man. For instance, when Jacob fought the angel, do you remember that, Queen Jacob fought the angel before he met his brother during the night. So many Bible translations say a man, not an angel, but actually it was an angel. So this was Daniel's experience. I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen with a belt of fine gold. His body was like topaz, blah, blah, blah. I, Daniel, was the only one who saw the vision. Those who were with me did not see it, but such terror overwhelmed them that they fled and hid themselves. So something was happening, kind of spiritual things. I was left alone, gazing at this great vision. I had no strength. And then he touched him and said, Daniel, you who are highly esteemed, consider carefully the words I'm about to speak to you and stand up, for I've now been sent to you. So this is this idea of them being angels. So angels, very real. One time we were organizing a march down 6th Avenue. We wanted to march down 6th Avenue in the 70s, and a lot of members were there, young people, and they needed permission to do it. And somehow one of our members, someone I know, he found this like 6'6" African-American policeman who was clearly quite responsible, 6'4", and he asked him, will you help? And they were doing a march on something, I don't know. And he said, yes, absolutely. And the guy then organized everybody, and the police protected our members as they marched down 6th Avenue. And then the next day, our brother went to the police station to thank the policeman, except that he didn't work at that police station. And they asked him, do you know this policeman? You know, he was 6'6", African-American. He really stood out in the crowd. He organized everybody. And they said, no, we don't know. And so he went to the other police station in the area. They didn't know him. He went to the next police station. They'd never heard of him. No one had ever heard of him. So his conclusion was he was an angel. Because he just couldn't find him. He went to all the police stations that dealt with that area. And go on to the next one, which is, Sasha, which is the... and this is the angels who came to Mary Magdalene, right? When she went to Jesus's tomb. And there was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. So their blood went out of them. The angel said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you're looking for Jesus who was crucified. He's not here. He is risen, just as he said. And then if you go on a little bit further in Matthew 28, Jesus suddenly appears to his disciples and they bow down and kiss his feet and all that sort of stuff. So sometimes angels are, you know, clearly somewhat different, dressed in topaz, as the other one said, or here, they're all in white, but very real and physical because they could roll back the stone, right?
Yeah. Or break, what was his name? Isaac's hip.
Right. Jacob's hip. Jacob's son of Isaac. Yeah. They dislocated his hip, I think, is the answer. Broken hip, he couldn't have bowed 7 times. Dislocated hip, yeah, real difficult.
Okay, that one.
Touched his hip, but so I go for dislocation myself.
Okay.
So one real question here is, why could Lucifer seduce Eve?
He was a male angel.
He was male, but what was it about him? I mean, she'd received the commandment from God, right?
Right.
So God told you not to do something, Sasha, Irene, Celine. I shouldn't ask you how old you are, Celine, but I'm going to. How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20. You're still young.
Yeah.
Shu Ching looks like she's 20, but she's a little older because she got blessed in 92.
I'm 56.
She's, you know, Su Ching is 30 plus a little, 40 a few times. She's been 40 a few times, but she looks great.
Thank you.
But when you're young, you see, and you've got this commandment, what was the nature of this being that he could break that commandment?
He is too handsome.
How do you know he was handsome?
Yeah, angel. He must be handsome.
So you think by definition angels are handsome?
Yeah, he have wisdom too.
Yeah.
Good.
What do you think, Shauna? Who could influence you, Shauna? I mean, if your mom told me anything, I'd just do it myself. Because you know, she gave a good sermon. Please thank her. Did you listen? Yeah. So who could change her mind? That's the real question, right? Go to the next one, Sash. Right? For this to happen. And, you know, he lost his position too. How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. So you understand Lucifer means bringer of light in Latin. Lux, which becomes lucis, is light, and ferere is to bring. So son of dawn is the bringer of light. So Lucifer has two meanings. Light also has a spiritual meaning, as it were, a symbolic meaning. What's the other meaning of light?
Truth.
In the case of Lucifer? Do you know, Sasha?
Is it truth?
Yeah, it's like wisdom or knowledge, intellect.
Wasn't it?
Really intellect. He was the archangel of intellect. So there were three main archangels. Do you know that? Jeremy, do you know them?
There's like Gabriel as well, and then another boy.
Michael.
Michael?
Was it Michael?
Michael.
Oh.
So Gabriel, Michael, and Samael. Actually, in the book of Enoch, I think there are at least 7 archangels, but we don't read the book of Enoch unless you're Catholic. So Samael is another word for Lucifer in the Jewish tradition, Alan. So those 3 archangels representing intellect, emotion, and will. And Lucifer was intellect. That's why in many languages, the word for light is connected to the word for intellect or knowledge, as you said, or truth, right? So how have you fallen from dawn, or morning star, son of the dawn? You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven and I will raise my throne above the stars of God. So what are the stars of God? If you look at the next one, Genesis 37, this is Joseph's dream. Then he had another dream and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream. And this time the sun and the moon, 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him. His father got angry and said, what is this dream? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come down and bow down to the ground before you? So the father was the sun, the mother the moon, and the 11 stars were his 11 brothers. But the interesting thing, when he had that dream, there were only 10 brothers, because the youngest brother, Benjamin, was born later. But of course, we know that in the end, the 11 brothers did indeed bow down to him when they thought that he was an Egyptian prince, right? You know that, Alan, in the Bible, story of Joseph?
Pardon?
Do you know the story of Joseph in the Bible?
Yeah.
This is Joseph's dream. Sorry, I should have made it clear. So these are the sons. So when it says the stars of God, it's talking about God's children. So in Isaiah, Benjamin was that much younger than Joseph. Yes. He was, like an afterthought or some sort of special thing. I think so, Melissa. I think if you read it, you'll find he was born afterwards. As I say, it's always good to read the book. I raise my throne above the stars of God. So this is Isaiah having a kind of revelation about Lucifer's situation above the children of, this is the children of God, Adam and Eve. And he wanted, I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly, blah, blah, blah. And the reason we know, Sasha, you need to find Ezekiel chapter 28, 1 to 19 and get ready to show it. Can you do that?
Okay.
The one at the bottom. So, and the reason we know, yeah, he was really handsome, as somebody said. He was really handsome and really smart, is because we have this interesting thing in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel's another prophet, and he's another kind of medium and visionary, right, in the Bible. So did anyone ever read this about the Prince of Tyre in the book of Ezekiel? So this is why you do need to read the Bible and know the Bible. Melissa, you must know this. It's your testament, dear. Melissa's left us. She went to have dinner, maybe. You know this from Ezekiel about the Prince of Tyre, Ezekiel 28?
I feel
Here's
like
Sasha.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so here we have it again. Who wants to read? Queenom, you like to read? Anyone like to read?
Kind of.
Okay, go ahead.
An overly dramatic voice if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. It is. In the pride of your heart, you say, I am a god. I sit on the throne of a god in the heart of the seas. But you are a mere mortal and not a god. Though you think you are as wise as a god, are you wiser than Daniel? Is no secret hidden from you? By your wisdom and understanding, you have gained wealth for yourself and amassed gold and silver in your treasuries. By your great skill in trading, you have increased your wealth, and because of your wealth, your heart has grown proud. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you think you are wise as a god, I'm going to bring foreigners against you, the most ruthless of nations. They will draw their swords against your beauty and wisdom and pierce your shining splendor. They'll bring you down to the pit, and you'll die a violent death in the heart of the seas. Oh, how nice. Will you then say, I'm a god, in the presence of those who kill you? You will be but a mortal, not a god, in the hands of those who slay you. You will die the death of the uncircumcised at the hands of the foreigners.
Okay, so
I've spoken.
So just a second, just wait. So externally, he's talking to the Prince of Tyre. Go back to the top, right? Right. So this is a prophecy against the king of Tyre. He's telling him this is what's going to happen. Tyre is a small kingdom on the Mediterranean. Okay. So, but when you look at it, and you're saying, I am a god, he thought he was a god. Well, people did, right? So you've all heard of Alexander the Great, Alexander the Macedonian, who conquered a third of the world. We have his in the 300s, I think. Anyway, we have his coins that said he was a god, and Roman emperors were considered gods. And this is why Jesus also God. But is he really talking about him? I am a god. I will sit on the throne of a god, blah, 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 in the heart of the seas. Or what is he talking? And remember, this is coming from a prophet. So go back down, Sasha. Scroll back down. now it becomes clear he's kind of partly talking to the king of Tyre, but he's also telling us something. So keep going, Queen. Thank you.
I've spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, take up a lament concerning the king of Tyre and say to him, this is what the sovereign Lord says. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone.
Hello? Sorry, just stop, Queen. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Was the king of Tyre in Eden? The prince of Tyre, the king of Tyre, was he in Eden?
No.
Who was in Eden? Who do we know was in Eden?
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve and?
Lucifer.
Lucifer. So you were in Eden in the garden of God. Keep going.
If I can pronounce it.
Oh, yes. Here you're gonna have a lot of fun. So don't worry, we can all read. I'm sure you'll be great because you're super smart.
Sure.
Your brothers are jealous.
Carnelian, chrysolite, and emerald, topaz, onyx, and jasper, lapis lazuli, turquoise, and beryl. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were.
Oh, we froze?
On the holy mount of God, you walked among the fire.
Wait a minute. Did people miss that?
Yep.
Okay, go back to your settings and mountains were made of gold. It froze for us. We frozen again?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi isn't so good here.
Okay, let's change. Sasha, read it.
You were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till wickedness was found in you.
Okay, so who was a guardian cherub? I ordained you on the holy mount of God, right? So this is talking what about a human or an angel? What are cherubs?
Angels.
Yeah, cherubim and seraphim is another word for a spiritual being in the Bible. So, and the only spiritual beings we know of are angels that aren't human spirits, right? Okay, keep going.
Through your widespread trade, you were filled with violence, and you sinned. So I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God, and I expelled you, guardian cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. I made a spectacle of you before kings. By your many sins and dishonest trade, you have desecrated your sanctuaries. So I made a fire come out from you, and it consumed you. And I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. All the nations who knew you are appalled at you. You have come to a terrible end and will be no more.
Okay, that's it. That's good. Okay, perfect. So look at all the stuff there. So someone mentioned he was very, very handsome. So your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So this helps us understand how Lucifer could, as it were, bend or change Eve's mind. Because what's the problem with teenage girls? What's their big problem? What's the big danger?
They'd like to have a prince.
Yeah.
And
it's older men. Most girls lose their virginity to an older boy. I think you'll find if you do surveys, very few young ladies lose their virginity to younger boys. It's always an older boy who seduces them. So this is like, in universities, they have a probably at Western University, right, Irene, if you read all of the bylaws and everything, there's actually something that says that university professors must not have any relationship with their students. They must not, social relationship. They can't date them, right? Why? Why is it that? Why did they have that law, that statute in universities? And they can be kicked out if they do that. But why is it that the universities do that? Melissa wants to answer. After she unmutes herself, otherwise she's doing sign language again.
Again, because young girls don't have experience, and they're very taken by the experience of their instructor, who appears to be wise and just something to desire, a very desirable, older, wiser man, mature man. And they're naive. They haven't got a clue what will come out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, because their minds are susceptible. It's a very dangerous, it's a dangerous relationship. I had the experience when I was 21, 22. I went to the Alps to teach summer school English to Austrian and German children. They would come for 3 weeks. And I had a 13-year-old who fell completely in love with me.
Wow.
She was in my class. When I was going back through Germany, back up, because, her parents invited me to their home to go away for the weekend with them and their daughter and their daughter's friend, because they'd heard so much about me from their daughter. And they really wanted to thank me because their daughter's life had changed around everything in school. What I couldn't tell them was, I had to beat your daughter off with a stick here. So many times taking my hand or trying to touch me or do whatever, right? And then she went better. Then when, we went to some nice place on the weekend. They wanted to give me money to take their daughter and her friend to a nightclub.
Oh gosh. What fools.
They had no idea. They had no idea of what had happened to their daughter at such a young age.
Yeah.
It wasn't their fault. So I just very gently said no. Anyway, so you have to understand, some saving grace among all the sin of my youth. So this helps us understand this part of the Bible, right? About Lucifer. Very beautiful, adorned with all. This is all symbolic of he was like Mr. Attractive. And that's why he could seduce. That's why he could change Eve's mind. He has to change Eve's mind. He has to break that commandment. That's why at the very beginning of the Bible story, just casually said, God's mentioned any tree you couldn't eat the fruit of. Just very casual, not, very indirect attack on the commandment, because we know from Genesis 2 that God says of the tree of the knowledge of fruit and evil, you shall not eat, for the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. And it's not even, God doesn't just say, don't eat of it. What does God also say? He says, don't
touch it.
Don't touch it. Don't even dream about it, actually. Don't see it in your dream. So it's not just don't eat, it's don't touch. So don't get close, because God knows if you touch, it's like fire. We know love is like fire. Sexual love is like fire. This is why this incredible, attempts of all unification parents, and you're going to do it with your kids too when you have quick kids, to educate your children the same, because the same possibilities are out there. But this is just so, we have to try and understand the reality of this story, that this, the angel is real. The angel is just as real as you and me. And this is a real spiritual sexual seduction. And the results are totally catastrophic. But sorry, it's been an hour and a half, so that's way too long. That's our time schedule. Thank you. We have something else at 8 if we're going to do that. Bless you. We'll continue. There's no particular. So we'll just continue with the fall. So if you want to read it again. That's that's what. There's a gentleman who shouts in the morning asking us to read one little book 100 times, right? I've got the 6-hour version. I read the 1-hour version online.
Oh, can you put that in the chat?
What?
1 hour version? Where it is online, because I couldn't find it online.
Okay.
We're reading 2 hours and it's not balanced. I'd like to see the 1 hour if you don't mind.
Yeah,
or send
I'll put
it to
in
me.
there.
Either way, thanks heaps.
I'll put it in for everyone, okay?
Yeah.
So you can find it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Alan,
much.
you had a question. We'll deal with it.
Yeah, I wrote down Alan's question.
I'm sorry?
I wrote down Alan's question, so we can come back to it next time.
Yeah, can you save it, Sash?
Yeah.
And because we're just dealing with the angels, but I just wanted to touch on the reality of spirit world, and that's also why I wanted to deal with the spiritual world and physical world, the principles of growth, right? Life elements, vitality elements, spirit elements, all of those things, extremely important. But so if you have new other questions, just write them down as you go along, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, Alan. Alan, we're finished. Queenum, tell Alan we're finished. Is he at home or is he at school somewhere else? Okay. Yeah. Your balance back. Okay. We missed you. Blessings, everybody. Have a lovely evening.
Take care.